Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn. Today's deck is a special one. This is a deck that was submitted by friend of the channel over on Twitch,
YUKFOOZi.
Super grateful to YUKFOOZi for that submission. Also super grateful to all of my patrons over at patreon.com/quarantinedcapricorn. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be able to keep this channel going full time, so thank you. That's Brittany, Bob Steele, YUKFOOZi himself, Noah Vincent, and our CPU savior Terrence Rohrbach. Thank you guys. This deck is called Batshit Crazy, and that's because it is. We originally had a Grixis build. There is one game at the very end of the video that is that original Grixis build that YUKFOOZi submitted, but the rest of the games are a sort of iterated brew and a more evolved version of the deck. We turned it into Rakdos rather than Grixis, and we just sort of hyper-focused on some of the synergies that seem to be most dominant and made it into something really, really special. So thank you, YUKFOOZi, for submitting the deck idea. We had a great time during early access. Before we check out the deck, make sure you like the video if you haven't yet. Of course, subscribe so that you never miss an upload. Every single like, subscribe, comment does help the channel grow. It helps the video get out to more people, so I appreciate it greatly. Also, if you want to catch me live, I'm on twitch.tv/quarantinedcapricorn every single day, because if I'm alive and I'm breathing, I'm there and I'm streaming. So let's check out this deck. Alright, this deck was submitted by one of our regulars over on Twitch, YUKFOOZi. He submitted the core idea in Grixis, and then we deck teched it out and we iterated on it, and we ended up with a Rakdos deck in the end that absolutely goes wild. So we're gonna start with the core sort of combos in the deck, and then we'll go and we'll start at the bottom of the curve and work our way up. So first of all, we've got 4 Mirkwood Bats. 1 black and 3 for a 2/3 bat with flying, and whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. Now, this is super important because it triggers twice off every token, basically. When we make the token, they lose a life, and then when we sack the token, they lose a life. So, we want to play as many cards as possible that are making and sacking tokens, and it's also worth noting it's super good with treasure, because not only are you making a treasure token and then sacking a treasure token and essentially shocking your opponent to the head when you do both of those things, but you're using that mana to probably play other spells to make more tokens. So Mirkwood Bats with treasure tokens goes off the rails, but it's also pretty good with Orcish Bowmasters. 1 black and 1 for a 1/1 Orc Archer with Flash, which is important. We can flash it in whenever we want. When it enters the battlefield, and whenever an opponent draws a card except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, it deals 1 damage to any target, and you amass Orcs 1. So this card is gnarly. It's much better than any of the cards we've seen in previous sets where it triggers off of the second card they draw each turn. This is much better than that, because on your turn, if they play an instant and they draw even 1 card, you're going to be able to trigger the Bowmasters. It only doesn't get triggered just by the 1 card they draw during their draw step. Every single draw spell in their deck forces you to be able to ping anything you want, even their head for a damage, and amass Orcs 1. And that gets out of hand. You can either build up a huge Orc and swing in and close out the game, or what we'll do a lot of times in this deck, amass Orcs 1, we have a token, find a way to sacrifice that token, trigger the Mirkwood Bats, and then when Bowmasters triggers again, it's going to make another token, which is going to trigger the Mirkwood Bats, and when we sack that token, it will trigger the Mirkwood Bats, and we're getting pings off the Bowmasters when we're getting the token made. So if we have a Bowmasters out and a Bats, and they draw a card, we ping, token, ping, sack token, ping. We basically get to lightning bolt their head for nothing, and it's kind of out of this world. So let's go back to the bottom of the curve and work our way up and talk about the rest of the deck. It's mostly treasure, because like I said before, the treasure allows us to sacrifice things to make tokens that will sacrifice, that will help us cast other things to make tokens to sacrifice. So we've got 4 Shambling Ghast. When this dies, we can either kill something small on their side, or we can make a treasure token, which is huge. And then we've got 4 Deadly Dispute, because we can sacrifice a thing, trigger the bats, like maybe sacrifice the Amass Orcs 1 that we made off the Bowmasters, trigger the bats, draw 2 cards, make a treasure token, trigger the bats. When we sack that treasure token, we trigger the bats again. It's nutty. But being able to draw cards as well helps us refuel on things to cast and spend our treasure on and just keep things moving. We've also got 2 Gorbag of Minas Morgul. This is legendary, so we're only running 2, but it's a 2-drop. It's a 2/2. Whenever a goblin or orc you control deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. When you do, choose one. Either draw a card or create a treasure token. There will be certain instances we'll draw a card. Most of the time we're going to want to make a treasure token to get those pings. And what's cool here is Gorbag allows us a sack outlet for our Amass Orcs 1 that we make from the Bowmasters, so that we can sack it, make a treasure token or draw a card, and then be ready to trigger the Bowmasters again to make a new Amass token, which will trigger the Mirkwood Bats again. So Gorbag is great. We've also got 4 Sheoldred's Edict, because with all of the ways we can ping with Bowmasters, it's easy to get rid of their little guys, their chumpers, and leave just maybe their one big guy on the field, and Edict lets us deal with that. It's also a way to deal with the new Sauron, which you cannot target the new Sauron with a removal spell at all unless you sacrifice something legendary. And we don't have very many legendaries in this deck, and we don't really want to sacrifice them, so having something like Sheoldred's Edict helps us get around that. We've also got 4 Riveteers Requisitioner. It can help get their life total down a little bit earlier and be aggressive early game, but then it can also create a treasure token when it dies, which can fuel the engines of the deck. And if we really need that treasure token right away and maybe really need to draw a card, we can also blitz it in. Then we've got 2 Kalain, because we can play it for 2. It's going to make a treasure token when it comes into play. All of our creatures we play with treasure tokens are going to be bigger, and it's going to also be a creature we can use for other fodder on certain things if we need it, like Deadly Dispute. Moving on to our 3-drop slots, we have mostly only 1 of each legendary in the deck, other than Gorbag and Kalain, which we have 2 of because they're so cheap, they're 2-drops. But other than that, all of the legendaries in the deck we only have 1 of, and that's for a reason. It's because we're running Bank Job. 3 mana enchantment. At the beginning of our upkeep, we're going to exile the bottom creature card of our library, and we may cast it, but only this turn. At the beginning of the next end step, if that card is still exiled, you put it into your graveyard and create a treasure token. So we want to be able to play the card if we can. If we hit a legendary that we already have on the field, it's going to feel bad, and we're much more likely to do that with a card like Bank Job rather than a card that's just drawing us a card, because Bank Job's only pulling a creature off the bottom. So it has a lot less cards to choose from, which means the chances are higher that it can hit a legendary that maybe we already have on the field. We're not able to cast it that turn and we lose it forever. But if we do lose it, we still get to make a treasure token when we don't play that card, and then that treasure token is going to fuel all of our engines. So either way, the Bank Job is going to be great. We've got 1 Lobelia Sackville-Baggins, which is a new card from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. 2/3 Flash Menace for 1 black and 2. It's a legendary halfling citizen. When she enters the battlefield, we exile target creature card from an opponent's graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. So we have to be careful in how we line this up. But then we create X treasure tokens, where X is the exiled card's power. So this card can be absolutely insane if we line it up correctly. If they play an Atali, and then we Sheoldred's Edict to make them sacrifice the Atali, and then we Lobelia Sackville-Baggins and exile it from their graveyard, we've only spent a total of 5 mana. We get 7 treasure tokens, we trigger each of our Mirkwood Bats 7 times, and then we sack all of the treasure tokens and trigger them again. Sometimes we can just win outright with combinations like that, which is kind of nutty. And that's also why Bank Job is really good, because Bank Job is only pulling creatures from our deck. There's a much better chance we're going to pull a multiples of Mirkwood Bats or Orcish Bowmasters, and if any one of these cards comes down as a second copy on the field and we're getting double triggers, it just gets way out of hand, and Bank Job really helps us get there. So we've also got one Crucias in the 3-drop slot, and that's for obvious reasons. This card is an amazing card. It's an alchemy specific card. 3/3 at the beginning of your end step, you may discard a card. If you do, you create a treasure token and choose ambitious or expedient. So we get to seek something with greater or higher mana value. A lot of times we'll discard like a 2-drop and choose ambitious to try to hit like a Mirkwood Bats or something. But the fact that we also get a treasure token alongside it, it's going to just fuel all of our engines and is super good. So Crucias actually absolutely makes the cut. We've also got one Orthion, and this was a card that YUKFOOZi pushed for specifically. The original brew had 3, and part of me wishes we could have kept those 3, because if you can get this to stick, it gets absolutely absurd. But I think just going down to 1 and making the bank job, a little bit more consistent was better. So we can play this for 4 mana, pay 2 mana, tap it to create a token that's a copy of another creature. So that token is going to trigger all of our token synergies like with Mirkwood Bats. But also we can make a copy of the Mirkwood Bats that is a token, and that's crazy. Or we can make a copy of the Orcish Bowmasters, which is a token. So we're going to get double triggers off the Bowmasters, and then we're going to get an extra amass trigger, and then we're going to get, an Orcish Bowmaster that is a token that will die at end of turn and trigger the bats. There's all sorts of shenanigans you can do making copies of these cards with Orthion. But if we happen to get to 9 mana, which isn't that hard to do with all the treasures we're going to be making, we can actually tap this and make 5 tokens of something. If we make 5 Mirkwood Bats or 5 Orcish Bowmasters in one turn that are all tokens and are going to trigger our tokens energies, it just gets insanely out of hand. It's just absurd. So, one Orthion, absolutely crazy inclusion. Thank you, YUKFOOZi, for suggesting this. And it's so nutty. It's just so nutty. We're also going to run one Prosper Tome-Bound here, 4 mana for a 1/4 Death Touch, and at the beginning of your end step, you exile the top card of your library, and until the end of your turn, you may play that card. Whenever you play a card from exile, you create a treasure token. So again, this is a way to create extra value while also giving us tokens that are going to fuel our engines. And then at the 5-drop slot, we have Rankle and Torbran. I think this card is perfect for a deck like this. 3/4 flying, first strike, haste. When it deals combat damage to a player or battle, you choose any number of these abilities. Each player creates a treasure. Each player sacks a creature. If a source would deal damage to a player or battle this turn, it deals that much damage plus 2 instead. All of these things synergize with what we're doing. First of all, we have first strike. So we hit and we trigger all of these abilities before the rest of our combat damage. We make a treasure token, trigger the bats. We sack a creature, which is a way to sacrifice our amass token from the Orcish Bowmasters, so that the next time we amass, we can make a brand new token and get more triggers. And then also, if a source would deal damage to a player or battle, it deals that much damage plus 2, which means at that point, all of your creatures that are attacking and hitting for damage are going to do more, but also your Bowmasters. Every time they trigger for the rest of the turn, instead of dealing 1 damage, if you target their head, you're going to be dealing 3, which is just crazy. It's absolutely insane. And then at the top end, we do have one Eldritch Pact, because for 7 mana, which isn't super hard with all the treasure, target player draws X cards and loses X life, where X is the number of cards in their graveyard. Sometimes we'll need to use this on ourselves to refuel, but most of the time, this is a one-of that if we're just doing our thing and we happen to top deck it later in the game, we can just win outright. We make them, draw a bunch of cards when a Bowmaster is in play, or maybe 2, and we get a bunch of triggers off the Bowmaster, deal a bunch of damage, amass a bunch of times, but then also we get the damage from the Bowmaster. We also make them lose X life from the Eldritch Pact itself. So a lot of times they take massive damage, lose massive life, and just die outright from an Eldritch Pact. Absolutely worth it as a one-of, even though it's super expensive. It's the kind of deck where I'd love to add more copies of this or more copies of a card like this, but because it is so expensive, I think it makes sense to just have the one at the top end, and every now and then you're going to get lucky and hit it and just close a game outright. In the mana base, we have a Mirex, so that we can make some tokens. We've got 4 Forsaken Crossroads, 4 Sulfurous Springs, 4 Haunted Ridge, 4 Blackcleave Cliffs, 1 Sokenzan, 1 Mountain, 1 Takenuma, 1 Swamp, and then we've got 1 Barad-dûr, because we can pay 1 black and double X and tap it to amass Orcs X. Obviously, that's going to be great in this deck. And we have 1 Mines of Moria, because we can pay 4, tap it, exile 3 cards from your graveyard, create 2 treasure tokens, which is obviously going to synergize with what the deck's doing as well. The deck is nutty. The games are crazy. This was one of the first decks we played in early access, and I gotta thank YUKFOOZi for coming up with the concept. So thank you, YUKFOOZi. The games are nuts. You have to check them out. So let's not hold back anymore. Let's check out the games. Okay, we'll keep this. That's fine, I guess. Probably just play Kalain on 2. Hopefully he'll waste some removal on it. There we go. Black. Untap. Yes. We will untap. Pass turn. Sure. No tax. Just go ham with all our craziness. We will sack our army token. Do we want just another bats first? I think we might just want another bats first. Yeah, let's just do that. Go ahead and draw some cards. Let's see, you drew no blocks. Smash. So much smashity smash. Ping ping. Ping ping. Let's go, baby. This looks fine. It's not amazing, but it's fine. We will go red. And we will scry one. That's fine. We need to start vomiting out our hand regardless, so we'll play Kalain first. Easy to block Frodo. I don't think we play Shambling Ghast with the treasure. I think we save the treasure. Lotho, Corrupt Sheriff. Huh. I don't even know how my thing died. Golem Spite. Alright. I suppose that's fine and dandy. Let's do it this way. We'll Edict first. Hopefully he'll sack Frodo. Nope. Well, I guess we'll play this then. Wanted to play the Ghast if he had Lotho stick around, because we could trade with it and still get a treasure. But he decided to keep Frodo. So we'll at least want to try to race. Just gonna hold the Riveteers Requisitioner back to stave off the Boromir. Just try to shore up our defenses a bit until Bank Job can start to bring us some value. Yeah, it is new music to Arena that came with the Lord of the Rings board. Oh, I have to block, don't I? That's fine. We'll just get a treasure. Lobelia has to exile a 1-drop. That stinks. Well, we can't just sit around doing nothing, so we'll use one of these Deadly Disputes and get land. Wonderful. We will get value off the Bank Job if we can survive. We pulled probably the worst creature we could possibly pull with the Bank Job. Menace. Since we're gonna have to sacrifice it anyway, we'll sack it to Deadly Dispute. Still block the damage. We don't take the extra 3. Alright, come on, Bank Job. War of the Last Alliance. 4 mana. Search for a legendary, put it in your hand. Search for a legendary, put it in your hand. Creatures you control gain double strike, and the ring tempts you. Pretty good. There we go. Mirkwood Bats. Gorbag. Pass turn. We're in a pretty good situation here now. We can flash in the Bowmasters, drain him for 2 from the treasures. Let's do it like this. Have a plan. Ping. Frodo's gonna get bigger. Forces him to not be able to cast bigger things out of his hand this turn. Cast the Arwen. Oh wow. That's gonna be strong. We've got another Bats. Which is kinda gnarly. Do we have any Reachers? Do we attack with Gorbag? And sack him to his own ability? We have to deal combat damage, so I don't think that's gonna work. We'll just attack with the Bats. War of the Last Alliance. Everything's got indestructible and double strike. Wait, how does it all have indestructible? Oh, not everything does, just Arwen. Double strike is pretty gross, though. Everything's got 3 toughness. Trying to think. Do that, double up. I don't think that's what I want to do. I think we just want to go like this and like this. No. This. This. And take 8. There's no trample. Go to 1. We have to win this turn. Call of the Ring. Another Requisitioner and a Deadly Derision. Actually, I should have blitzed that in. That was a mistake. Whenever a goblin or orc deals combat damage to a player. I think that actually wins it for us. Two more. Flash in the Bowmasters. One to you. Two more. Yep, we got it. Prosper Bound. Let's go, baby. We survived at one. He chooses to pay 2 life and draw a card. Oh man, that was a game. Alright, I will keep 7. We'll start with Takenuma Shambling Ghast. Well, let's swing. We're gonna end the turn. If he tries to kill the Ghast, we can sack it to Edict in response. Alright, we're gonna do it like this. Kill the Crabane. Play land. I know what I want to do, but I don't think I can. Actually. I know what I want to do. Gotta do it this way, I guess. I wanted to be able to sack the token to Gorbag and draw. But I couldn't. Dunland. Again. Well, we'll go Orthion, Hero of Lavabrink. Swing in with the Ghasts. Alright, we're ready. You got removal for Orthion. Gothmag. Interesting. Interesting, interesting, interesting. do it like this. He's gonna block the Ghasts. -1 to Gothmag. -1 to Gothmag. Take action. Draw a card. Alright. Pretty good shape here. Orthion with the Bowmasters is pretty strong. Forming of Moria. That's a lot of boys. We've got 4 mana left over. I guess we just play both. Can't really play both of these, can we? Do this. Ping you. Discard that. Ambitious. We got a bats. We got a bats, boys. I think we're gonna get there. No blocks. Play the bats. Copy the Bowmasters. Swing in with all of those boys. This is Alchemy Yogi. Unfortunately. Alright, so we win. Sweet. We will keep this for sure. We will keep this for sure. Shambling Ghast on 2. Bowmasters on 3, maybe? Hopefully we can hold on to that Eldritch Pact. We might need some more Eldritch Pact. Nah, what's cool about this deck is you don't need the Eldritch Pact to win. It's just, if you happen to draw it while you got your thing online, you just automatically will. Sure, Izzy. Young Mage VIP. The Young Mage is a VIP. A Nazgul. Go ahead and block. Do it. Do it, young mage. Do it, young mage. That's what I thought. Get out of here. Get off my lawn. Another Nazgul. Alright, we've got Stormcarved Coast. Let's see, do we hold up Deadly Dispute? Do we get Mirkwood Bats down? I think we want Mirkwood Bats. We'll let the Nazgul in. It's fine. If he draws because of the ring tempting him, then we get to ping. We'll just let him in for 4. Hard decision, huh? Must be a very hard decision. They're gonna get real big real quick. But can we get bigger quicker? We'll find out. We'll just do this. Threaten to double block. He'll go to 15. He just doesn't have enough cards in his graveyard yet. We need to trade. We need to trade with some stuff. It's pretty good. 2 +1/+1 counters on every Nazgul. It's kind of a bummer that he's using the same art though. Juggernaut Peddler. That's unfortunate. That just wins him the game outright. Unfortunately. Goodbye, Eldritch Pact. Will you be swinging? He will be swinging. We will ping. We will trigger the Bowmasters, even if he does keep removal. Do some of that. No longer have a ring bearer. You will soon enough, I'm sure. Gonna get rid of my Deadly Dispute. I guess I should draw first, right? Alright, go ahead and get rid of my Bowmer. Go ahead. If I save the Orc for next turn, I could swing with the Juggernaut and the Orc. You can't double block both of them with his 2/2s. So we'll get in for a little extra damage. Like, we could have lethal next turn. Especially if we can afford to take the hit from the Nazgul, which I don't know if we can. But if we can, like, we've got 2 in the air, 1 from sacking the treasure. That's 3 right there. Oh, it seeks, it doesn't draw. That's so lame. That's so lame. It seeks, it doesn't draw. I think you're right, Yuck. I think I should have blitzed. He's having a really hard time deciding. Mire, 1 card left in hand. Sick. So we could double block the Nazgul, and we would take 7 and go to 3. That's probably a bad idea because the Juggernaut Peddler could finish this off by himself next turn. think we might have to jump block the Juggernaut Peddler with the Bowmasters, which I don't love. 1, 2, 3. Puts him at 5. We just need to get in for 4 more damage somehow. I think we're going to do it like this. It's risky no matter what, but I think our Bowmasters is really our only shot at actually closing out the game next turn. He's just got too many blockers. Oh boy. Deadly Dispute. Deadly Dispute. He's gonna block and trade with something, right? Screw it, I'm going for it. He's just gonna jump. I would love for him to jump. That's fine. Do it. Do it, old maid. Both of them? Are you gonna sack Boromir? I mean, I hope he does. Then I get rid of one of his creatures and I still get to Deadly Dispute my token. Yeah, we do it like that. Go on. Now I don't have to sack my treasure. Let's let that resolve first. I want him to pick the captain. Or I want him to pick the Nazgul. And not the captain when the ring tempts him. Alright, now that he's chosen his ring bearer, now we'll sacrifice to Deadly Dispute. He goes to 7. We hit for 2. Requisitioner. Sack the Requisitioner. Goes to 3. Oh my god, we got it, guys. Sack 2 treasures, he goes to 1. Sack 2 treasures. And he done. Oh my god. We actually did it! The crazy son of a bitch, he did it! Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.